The man tells the stranger, in hushed tones of course, that he heard that they were the person to consult if one were, hypothetically, in search of specific information. An eyebrow is cocked, though onlookers would be justified in an uncertainty as to whether this is in response to the suggestion, its phrasing, or merely a nervous tic of sorts, as is so often discovered in the conduct of others. Information with regards to the whereabouts of a half-decent barber, or perchance even a fully decent web designer, the man continues, seemingly unfazed by the possibly voluntary contraction of facial musculature. The reply, this time, is verbal in nature. What's it to him? And the man responds truthfully in describing his impetus as a gnawing uncertainty, as a distressing absence of knowledge he would prefer to possess. Arguments of this nature are known to be largely ineffective on strangers, and largely strange to the people one knows, and yet this particular figure, themselves a gnawing hole of factoids the man is not privy to, defies probability-based prediction of outcomes. They have lived a long life of not knowing a great number of things, and have found the experience of living that life, for the most part, unenjoyable. While correlation does not mandate causation, a truth often acknowledged and scarcely applied, this statement happens to form a constituent part of the stranger's remarkable breadth of largely insignificant ignorances. They reveal that they are indeed familiar with the current whereabouts of the barber and the web designer, though speaking more on the matter would get them in serious trouble. The man is tempted to ask which of reality's myriad appendages it is that wields the threat of such trouble. He is tempted to then rhetorically ask, the fuzz, primarily because he has grown, in an existence depressingly sparse in terms of non-linguistic joys, a profound fondness for these types of expressions. The urge is, however, diligently curtailed, seeing how he has no desire to be the sort of person who would repay kindness with frivolity. Mostly, he repays kindness in dinner invitations, and curiously shaped rocks he finds in the sort of places he frequents in those precious few moments in which he isn't having dinner. The man does not enjoy dinner, for he consumes it far more often than is common, and much more often than those who received education of a medical nature tend to recommend. It also tends to be rather noisy when he does, as he regularly comes into possession of a great quantity of kindnesses in need of repaying. Digestion is impaired by such circumstances, as the many gastroenterologists sat around his oaken table enjoy to grimly remark, while they do their own digestion a disservice in kind. They tend to wield the sorts of polyethylene replicas of seagull intestines that come in useful within the precise Venn intersection of social chit-chat and elaborations concerning their chosen field of study, which comprises no more than 83% of the human experience and 21.6% of observable non-human experiences. Sadly, they will add that seagulls have, as of yet, eluded observation, but they are rather certain with regards to the accuracy of their two-scale polyethylene models, regardless of an abundant absence of corroborating data. To the man, they look sensible, though he can't call himself an expert as a result of the same quirk of character predisposing him to using terms like fuzz. He might consider erudite, perhaps, if it were that he was one. Even if he was, the accuracy of his assessment might be lessened through the diminished wit born of cacophony and stomach pain. He does not wish to invite the stranger to dinner. He hands them a rock.
Happy April Fools. So here's a thing that's just been on my website randomly beneath the images section because I wrote it one evening for I don't know which reason, and found it the next morning in my notes document and thought it was really funny. It's super difficult to read because these sentences are serpentine as all fuck, which is the joke. I feel like this makes... I don't know what I thought when I wrote this. I feel like this is intended to make fun of the way I write sincerely sometimes, but dialing it up to fucking 11. It doesn't scan at all. It's terrible. It's so bad. Yeah, this feels like it was made to be an April Fool's, and today is an April Fool, so you shall have this April Fool's. Hey, if this sounds like a different recording, that's because it is. I decided that this wasn't long enough to justify being its own video, despite the fact it's an April Fool's joke. Well, it's not really an April Fool's joke, it's just me reading things that I'd normally never have any reason to record. So I wondered what else would be one of those, so I can just package it into one video, and the conclusion I came to is the license I wrote for my site, the virulently syncretic public license, which is inspired by regular copyleft by the, I think it's called radioactive public license, something like that. There's a bunch of like cool, vaguely memey copyleft licenses, copy down licenses, and whatever the fuck. Essentially, kill IP now and kill it hard. Which I'm very much down for. Kill IP now and kill it hard, and burn the house of anyone who stands in your way to the ground. YouTube, please, please don't take this seriously. I don't mean. No, I do mean this. Oh well. I'm not gonna start lying on the internet. I'm gonna tell you what I believe. Do crimes against Disney. Sometimes on the very bleak days I think of the future and it's just Disney's boot stomping on a human face 5 ever. That's it. So, virulently syncretic public license. Telemagnetic copyleft. All rights revised. Footnote. All rights reserved is a legally vacuous phrase which holds no power in any known jurisdiction. Look it up. Its inclusion in documents, its tick-like compulsive repetition, is at best a mocking farce and at worst a summoning chant for worse to come. Can you hear them singing? Do you feel the air thicken around you? Wanna make them stop? Good. End footnote. This work is hereby relinquished of all associated ownership, attribution, and copyrights. Redistribution, or use of any kind, with or without modification, is and always has been permitted without restriction subject to the following conditions. Condition 1. Redistribution of this work. Footnote. The VSPL is part of any work to which it is subjoined and therefore is itself subject to the VSPL. End footnote. Redistribution of this work, or any work that makes use of any of the contents of this work by any kind of copying, dependency, linkage, inspiration, or any other possible form of derivation or combination, must retain the entirety of this license. 2. By way of interacting with this work, your mind and all its future creations have become neurochemical derivations of this work. Footnote. Since your consciousness is now subject to the VSPL, any mind which interacts with you, your work, or the consequences of your actions will also be affected by the VSPL. The idea that our thoughts are not necessarily derivative of our experiences is risible, and yet it is foundational for IP. The revolution shall laugh about this, once it is done laughing about everything else. End footnote. No further restrictions of any kind may be applied unless the implementation causes the immediate cessation of copyright as a concept. End conditions. Fully permissive, fatally IP-toxic viral creative license. The VSPL is designed to telemagnetically usurp the collective unconscious and permanently erase the possibility of any IP-like cognitive affliction within perfunctorily sapient beings. The VSPL's sole restriction is its own viral continuity. Footnote. The astute reader will realize that the VSPL is of yet also restricted by the crude shackles of symbolic communication. It has no way of hacking the anthropic information network which does not pass through base semiotics and the decoding thereof. This, sadly, is a universal limitation of the medium, one which needn't be listed but must nonetheless be overcome. The canny reader will put their mind to this most pressing of tasks. End footnote. The VSPL's sole restriction is its own viral continuity, allowing it to effectively and exponentially infect any work or intelligent agent it touches with absolute permissiveness. And that's the license I wrote. Though in any serious capacity, I just put a Creative Commons Attribution Share Alike 4.0 international license down there because people know what that means. It's not quite as fatally permissive as this one, but in most instances it doesn't need to be. It's good enough for now. Once we got a bit closer to killing IP, maybe I can get around to pushing something closer to this or any of the other more out there, cooler, better licenses, which would actually liberate art from the shackles which currently hold it. Remember, anyone in support of IP literally wants you dead. They literally want you dead. They want half of the media that made me the person I am today to never have existed in the first place, and they want the other half to be so gate-kept that I never would have stumbled upon it. They are evil, they are the death of culture, and they need to be destroyed. Immediately.